Good evening and welcome to the program. Tonight on the Chronicle, we are visiting the Butler Health System's Food Institute. We'll also check in with Ione Mathias in our spotlight and then see what the property committee's been up to around the church. Also, we'll have gardening with Ms. Mary Reefer, all tonight on the Chronicle. Up first tonight, John Silbert takes a journey to the Food Institute at the Butler Health System, and we learn what they do and what programs they'll be having at Covenant Church.
Hi there. This is Pastor John for the Covenant Chronicle. Brian is usually sitting here. He's not, but I am, and I'm not even in church. I think oh, wait a minute. I see Kathy Selvaggi, Dr. Kathy Selvaggi of the Butler Health System. And we're in the Food Institute at Butler Memorial Hospital. And so we're here to talk with Kathy, and we're going to introduce a couple other folks to talk about the Food Institute and the work that they're doing here, helping people to get healthy through eating properly. So, hi, Dr. Cal.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
How did the Food Institute get going here?
Well, great question. So, every couple of years, hospitals need to do a needs assessment. And we learned several years ago that there is a significant problem in our area with food deserts, with food insecurity, with people who have challenges getting to fresh fruits and vegetables. So as a result, we said, and we know that as a result, when people are eating not so healthy foods, right, that down the road, this can lead to an increase in obesity, problems with diabetes, problems with heart disease. So the hospital has really decided that working on the social determinants of health, or those things that impact our health, are just as important. Focusing on trying to keep people well is as important as taking care of them when they're sick. So in January of this year, they developed this Chief Community Health Officer position, which I took. And we decided to really tackle one of the problems, which is food insecurity and nutrition. So the hospital has been incredibly supportive, and we developed the Food Institute.
Let me ask you this. You mentioned in the opening food deserts
Yes.
and food insecurities, and you mentioned it again just now. Just for our benefit of our audience, give us a definition.
So we have, our closest grocery store for some of our people who live in downtown Butler is over 5 miles away. So their ability to access healthy, nutritious foods is a distance, right? So, and if you're having to go take a bus, it can take you to a substantial amount of your day to get to a grocery store. So, we have Rite Aid downtown, we have Dollar General, but that's it. And so our concern was, if we're going to impact these chronic illnesses, how do we get people to not only access to good food, but also educate. So where we are different, there are food pantries out there, and they are necessary. But our goal is to really educate our patients to say, this is high quality and good food, and this is how you prepare it, and this is why you need to eat healthy, so that we can offset some of these long-term chronic illnesses or prevent them.
When talking about education, again, we absolutely appreciate the food banks that are working and doing distribution. That's wonderful. But so often, I think you folks have found that people get boxes of food and they don't know what to do with some of the food that's in the boxes.
Exactly.
And they're good, it's good food, but they have no clue.
Exactly. So that's why when patients are referred or when clients are referred to our Food Institute, you will meet Breanna, we will meet Breanna shortly, but patients get educated first, right? So they learn about how to read a label. They learn, and she'll describe something called My Plate. So there's nutritious education first. And then when a patient is referred here from their doctor's office, and they have to meet certain criteria. So we ask something called the hunger vital signs. And we ask, do you run out of money before the end of the month? Do you run out to pay for food? Do you run out of food before the end of the month? Do you have difficulty accessing fresh fruits and vegetables? So if the answer to any of those questions is yes, they are referred to our Food Institute. Breanna sets up an appointment, and that referral is good for 6 months. And we supply 10 healthy meals per month for 6 months. But they're educated, right? So we educate them. And we give recipes, because you're right. If someone is given broccoli or cauliflower or a zucchini, but they don't know how to fix it, we worry that healthy food will go in the garbage. But if you're being educated and you're taught by Breanna and you're given a recipe on how to prepare that food, we are hoping that you will change your eating habits, your lifestyle, and live longer.
And there's also, it seems like there's an economic benefit to these folks. I'm thinking about this. I have one of our folks works for Burger King. And he was remarking to me at church a few weeks back, somebody ordered fries and a burger and had it delivered to them. It cost almost as much or more to actually deliver it. And it came to them cold, the fries were cold, and then just think about that in a much bigger picture. That's a lot of money for not great food, sorry Burger King, but buy a 5-pound bag of potatoes and you have a lot more available to you.
Right, correct.
In a nutritional value, through some meal planning and whatnot, that money's actually going to go further at that point.
Correct. And so again, I think what's important is what we're learning several things. One is that people don't know necessarily how to cook good food. They're under the impression that in order to eat well, you have to spend hours in the kitchen. That's not true. We've also learned that we have some people who don't even have the proper utensils, right?
Yes.
They can't afford the utensils. So just for people to know is that we had an ongoing utensil drive where people can go on our website, they donate the utensils. And so if a person comes to us and says, I don't have a can opener to get into this low sodium can of beans, we will give them a can opener. Yeah. So I think, and this program just started April 1st. We have a long way to go. But we have now, we rolled it out through the Department of Cardiology and Endocrinology, and it is now open to our primary care offices. I'm hoping down the road that we will open this up to the community. But I think, we're working out the bugs, we're learning what the needs are. But I can tell you, and I think Breanna will be able to tell you even more, that overwhelmingly, that people have been very responsive to this. They love it. They're learning things. And again, our goal is not only to give them healthy foods, but to teach them how to use these healthy foods. Mm-hmm. I think that's important. Yeah. Nobody, if someone says, if you don't teach them what a low sodium diet is, most people don't know. Right? So to just say eat low sodium, what does that mean? Yeah. Right. So there's a huge education component to this Food Institute.
Let me ask you a couple other questions. We'll let you go. We know you've got a full plate today.
No problem.
You hear the term pop health. Can you describe that for us? I mean, you're doing it as you talk about the Food Institute, but population health, again, the larger picture of what that is.
So the larger picture is when you talk about population health, it's talking about health for the masses, right? Like how can we not only hit the individual person, but how do we change a culture? And we have to start somewhere, right? So we're saying that hopefully we start our food institute here, develop it throughout the health system, which by the way, we're doing a second food institute up in Clarion Hospital because that's now part of Butler Health System. Once we develop it in the hospitals for our hospital community, it's then how do we bring it out to the community? That is population health, right? It's getting to the very basics so that down the road, what we're hoping is, I'm hoping to see this in my lifetime, that we see a decrease in obesity, diabetes, cardiac disease in our population. So it's really a lot about disease prevention through healthy eating. And, other things that we're hoping as we develop our lifestyle medicine, Food Institute is merely a part of it. The other areas that we want to work on are mental health, exercise, and again, that will improve the overall health of our population. So this is one facet of years of work yet to come.
How can we help you, Covenant Church, help you folks? We've been cooperating, obviously, with the food programming,
right.
The DASH program.
Yes.
What's something that you've got those folks right there?
Well, I think you're doing it, right? I think the fact that you've allowed us, that your facility is going to be a satellite, we're hoping that, at some point down the road, we've got healthy foods in your church that then you can give out to the community. But again, I think the education piece and spread the word. And I think the other thing that's important is on the individual basis, eating well. You can eat well and not be that costly. I mean, if you know how to do it, you can eat well and spread that word. Because again, I think there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of fast food out there that I think people are spending a significant amount of money because they think it's cheaper than buying healthy food, and it's really not.
You're an Energizer bunny. You have it in your face, in your aspect, how you speak. You have a joy that's there that I think is palpable. Just tell me quickly about how you got there to that place in your life of that joy and that energy that just...
Well, you know what, I love the field of medicine. And early on in my career, I was an oncologist, so I was a cancer specialist, and then I went into palliative care and love that as well. I just think that, as I've matured in my career in medicine, I think there is I think we need to start earlier. I'm very much into prevention. How can we get people healthier, stop smoking, let's walk more. And I get it. I mean, I love my chocolate and my cookies. Don't get me wrong, right? I mean, I understand that there are all those things out there, but I also know that there are things that we can do individually and as a health system to impact our own health and the health of our community. And it has to start somewhere, right? So, Butler Health System has been incredibly supportive of this project. They see it as a long-term goal, and I work with great people. So, when you have this group, it's hard not to be enthusiastic.
That's great. Kathy, thank you for your time today. And you gave us a great segue for Breanna Lamberger. So, Kathy, thanks again.
Hey, thank you very much. And yes, we'll do this again sometime.
Hi, we're now talking with Breanna Lamberger, and Breanna is going to be talking to us about the process of how folks go about obtaining the services of the Food Institute and what's available. So, hi, Breanna.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting us in.
Oh yeah, no worries, welcome. So,
Tell us about the process then for folks.
Sure. So it is strictly referral based right now. So you do have to get it from your doctor's office just while we're still opening and trying to get all the bugs worked out. So right now it is just referral, but eventually we are hoping to open up to the communities, maybe having walk-in time. So basically what happens when you go to your doctor's office, they'll ask you a list of questions. If you answer yes to any of the questions, like, is getting fruits and vegetables a challenge? Do you run out of money before the end of the month to purchase food? If you answer yes to any of those, then you get a referral to come and see me here at the Food Institute.
Okay, and so somebody's referred and comes in the door and they see you, and what do you do? What do you say to them, tell them?
Yeah, sure. So what happens is when they come in, we fill out a little bit of paperwork, just a teeny little bit, just so I get to know the client better and know their eating habits, where they go grocery shopping, if they visit a food pantry, which one, and food allergies, anything like that related to their diet. So we just kind of talk, keep it casual, and then we go through the list of recipes that they are given. So when they leave here, they leave with about 8 bags of food, and we give them the 10 recipes and all of the ingredients to prepare the 10 recipes. So when we'll just go through the recipes and go through nutrition information. So like Dr. Selvaggi was saying, this is an educational service. So it's not just a food pantry, which, like we said, they're amazing, but that's not exactly what this is. We are more focused on the future. So they get to come to me once a month for 6 months, and we talk about anything that they're interested in food related. So I love the My Plate. I'll plug it right here. This is the My Plate. So this is my. Oh, thank you so much. I always joke that this is my career as a plate. So I love to go through this. We talk about this with the clients. We go over it pretty significantly in detail. So for those of you who don't know, this is just the new food pyramid. So they replaced it with the plate just because it's a little bit easier to visualize when you're eating. Oh, can you see? Okay, perfect. Yeah, so this is one of my favorite things to talk about. So on the first visit, we go through this just to get them a little bit more familiar. And so I get more familiar with what they're interested in learning about. And if they're diabetic or if they have heart issues and want to do low sodium. So this is kind of just the basis that we start with, and then we build off of it with the next appointments.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
And Breanna, you were with us at the church. We did that program where you cooked for us, actually, and we tried a couple of those recipes. It was a wonderful afternoon. Maybe speak to that sort of thing, and I know we're going to have Patti talking about the next event, but maybe a little bit about your connection with that program.
Sure. So Patty's the one who runs all the lifestyle coaching classes. So I was at the Covenant Church to do a food demo. So the topic was about the DASH diet. So we made a recipe that is DASH approved. So it was quinoa salad, and it was delicious, and everybody seemed to like it, I think. Yeah. So we're big about, again, with the educational piece, we want to show you too, this is what you can do with the food, and look, it tastes good. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to deprive yourself to eat healthy. So we're really big about that. So we're going to actually eventually have the lifestyle coaching classes in here because we have a pretty good setup. So we're really into food demos. We want to do lots of that and just promote the educational aspect of this.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, literally, we're inside the Brady Street entrance, right?
Yeah, the first door on the right. Yep, okay. That's what I tell everybody.
Well, thank you for joining us, and look forward to hearing more about the Food Institute. Thanks again. Okay. Hi again. We're with Patti Cognac, who is also part of this wonderful Food Institute we've been listening and hearing about. And Patti, you are a lifestyle coach.
I am, yes. I'm a registered dietitian, and I am the lifestyle coach for Butler Health System. So I've been in this role for about 4.5 years. We did start grant funded. We've gone through a few grants, and I finally found a home here in the Food Institute.
Good. Can you tell us about your program as you've laid it out here?
Sure. So we teach a lot of different things. So the umbrella is lifestyle coaching. We started with a diabetes grant. So one of the first things we developed was a diabetes lifestyle coaching class, which is 4 weeks long. The other thing I need to say, kind of right out of the gate, is that everything I teach is in group settings. There's no individual, and everything I teach is free of charge. And that has been a blessing of having grants throughout my career. So we do a diabetes lifestyle coaching class. It's 4 weeks. For that class, we've developed a book, and you are mailed the book, and it's usually 4 one-hour sessions, 4 weeks in a row. We actually have some wonderful people that are going to assist in teaching it this next 6 months, so we're looking forward to having some other experts teaching that. One of the other really big needs we've had is weight management. It is a national epidemic. It's a struggle. It's food environment. It's just our genetics and the fact that we're not as mobile as we used to be. So we've seen quite a bit of success with the newer program, which is the Ultimate Volumetrics Diet. So I've been teaching this since January, and it's actually a Penn State researcher, Barbara Rolls, who wrote this book. It's a 12-week program, and it covers 12 lessons on weight management. A piece of it is nutrition, a piece of it is movement, a piece of it is head and habits. And we include a lot of self-care in this module as well. So this is pretty much every week. If you want to sit down virtually now, hopefully in person soon, and just be in a supportive group of people, we do that almost every Wednesday evening between 5:30 and 6. So those are our series classes, but then we teach a whole bunch of one-time seminars, which the Dash is the one that we did at Covenant Church. And so they just are 1 hour, usually lectures, where we love to do food demos, and Breanna is wonderful at food demos. And then we have a Q&A. So we did the Dash, which was dietary approaches to stop hypertension. With every seminar, I try to pull in a book, because people like books, or a website. So now that we're virtual, it's really easy just to take people to websites. But if we were doing a book, we did the Complete Dash Diet for Beginners by Jennifer Koslow, and that's a great hour and a half seminar, give or take, and that stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension. It's also good for lowering cholesterol and losing weight. We do a longevity lesson. So this is one of my favorites. I was saving my favorite for last. So there's a wonderful website called bluezones.com, and a researcher, Dan Butler, went and lived in 5 different areas of the world where people live to be 100 and they're healthy, and look at how they live. And a big piece of how they live is belonging and spirituality and having a purpose. So not everything we do is about food. We try to touch on all of that. That would be a wonderful one for Covenant. We teach a class on plant-based eating in a couple of varieties. We do just a plant-forward class because we know the more plants we eat, the healthier we are. We're going to add a new class in our next schedule on the flexitarian diet, which is very popular. And we do a self-care series, which is really just about taking care of yourself. And we talk a lot about sleep and eating right and moving. And then, again, that belonging and purpose. And then I guess I'm saving we have to add menu planning, which Breanna will be taking over the menu planning seminar, because that's all she does here is she plans menus and she creates recipes and gives people a plan, because some of success is just having a plan. A lot of people know what to do. It's the execution phase, doing it. And so the last one seminar that we have is the Mediterranean seminar, and that's the one that we're going to plug to you now at Covenant Church.
That's great. There's a lovely poster behind you about the Mediterranean diet pyramid.
Yes. So this is my favorite. It's my heritage, even though truly the Mediterranean diet, it became so in the 1950s and 60s when a researcher, Ansel Keys, found out that people that lived around the Mediterranean Sea lived longer, and he attributed it to their diet. And so is areas like Crete and Italy and Spain. That created a lot of research, and there's actually been some research to date where they will feed people Mediterranean-style diets, and they do see lower in weight, reduced heart disease, less diabetes. So it's a good eating plan, and it's an easy, fun eating plan because it's delicious recipes. And I don't know if anybody follows the U.S. News and World Reports, how they rank diets every year. It's always number 1, and everything we teach is always in the top 4. So we're doing what works and what is science-based. Everything we do is science-based. But the Mediterranean seminar, is June 17th, and we're going to co-host that at Covenant Church again. And as you can see, I'm a dietitian, but I talk a lot about lifestyle. So the base of the pyramid is really belonging, moving naturally in your environment, eating meals together. And so that's the base. But if we look at the food component, most of what you eat comes out of the ground. So the base of the pyramid is fruits, vegetables. They use lots of olive oil, nuts, beans, legumes, seeds, herbs, and spices. A couple times a week would be fish and other seafoods. Maybe even less than weekly, or weekly would be some poultry, some eggs, and maybe some low-fat cheese. And the real kicker here is that meats and sweets are a monthly item. They're not a daily or a weekly item. And that is, if I were to put the American diet, the pyramid might be upside down.
Upside down, yeah.
We would be upside down because a typical American only gets about 1.7 fruits and vegetables a day. So it's a change in the way that you think about your plate. And Breanna spoke to that a little bit earlier. And they drink water and a little bit of wine. But so we're doing that on June 17th. And if Breanna wants to come up, we will give you a sneak peek of what you will get to taste. We will do a Mediterranean farro salad, which we don't want to give it all away. But what the Mediterraneans do, and what most people that eat super healthy do, is like dessert isn't a cake with icing or ice cream, it's fruit. So, introduce Breanna and our dessert.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me move this mic over here.
Sure. I'm just going to grab some gloves real quick.
Okay. I've been sitting here with all of these people, and right behind me are these luscious looking dates and cream cheese and goat cheese and walnuts. So we're going to talk about them now. Yay. Okay, here we are. And Breanna's getting herself ready. And she put on the gloves too when we were at Covenant for the cooking demo, which was really informative. Okay, great.
Thank you. Yep, we're all about food safety, so we want to make sure no germs, especially with COVID and everything. So this is a really simple dessert. Dessert replacement, I'll say. So it's really sweet. It's really delicious. You get the savory from the toasted nuts too, but it gives you the sweetness so that you're not craving the ice cream, the cookies, anything like that. So it's really good for that. Patti showed me this one. I love this. So all we're gonna do is cut the date in half. Should have used my good knives for this. Delicious. And then we have just some goat cheese here. We also have whipped cream cheese. So depending on if you like goat cheese or not, totally up to you. I'm gonna do the cream cheese for this one. And all you're gonna do is just put a teeny bit right on the half of the date. I'm gonna smooth it out. Oh, yep, the pit's on that side. Oh yeah, don't eat the pit, my goodness. Be a whole different situation. And then you're just gonna top it with a toasted walnut. And it's as easy as that. That took what, 10 seconds maybe?
10 seconds.
Yeah, easy. And it is so good. So delicious. There's the pit, don't eat that. So just super simple, super yummy, and it will satisfy that sweet craving if you have it.
And folks, when we had the DASH program this month in May, it's that simple. It's a matter of putting the ingredients together in the proportions necessary. And while that's happening, we're getting this wonderful education about alternatives. Let me ask you too this question. Is there a way for your body to relearn sugar?
I think that's a really good question, so I will take that. So I think that we live in this hyper sweet life. So we use a lot of the artificial sweeteners, and they're super sweet. I think we've lost our sense of what is naturally sweet. And I think just like salt, your taste buds will adjust whenever you change your foods. So I do think, I say this all the time, there's many foods that we eat that don't resemble anything that comes out of the ground. And so it's kind of retraining your taste buds, not just for sweetness, but for salt, and just learning to love vegetables and roasting them and adding a little olive oil or some herbs. it's retraining your taste buds and changing what you crave, and you will crave different things once you are introduced to new foods.
So there is a way to back away from the sweets, the meats and the sweets, through re-educating the palate and the taste buds.
I believe so. And I can speak to myself, and I've heard many people say the same thing. Now, we're not saying you can never have your favorite food. We're just saying it's really, you have to really control certain things. And I always say try to find a healthier alternative to what you crave. So if it's ice cream, we can give you a recipe for a banana chocolate peanut butter smoothie that's super healthy, and you could feel no guilt eating it. So I try to sneak in those sweets in a healthier way. So yeah, we can satisfy our sweet tooth in a different way.
Yeah, and I will even say one of the clients that I had at the Food Institute, I saw her for the second time this week, and we talked about low sodium because she has heart health issues. So she had never purchased low sodium items before. This was totally new, and she told me that she has noticed that things are tasting saltier to her if she has something that isn't low sodium, and she's like, I almost don't like it anymore. So it does work. It definitely works. Yeah. It's small changes that make a big difference too. Yeah. Totally.
That's good. Do we get to sample that date thing?
Yeah, absolutely. They're so good.
Yeah, they look terrific. Okay, folks. Awesome. And it is a wonderful food source. I highly recommend that particular treat, but also the training that comes through the Food Institute. Thank you, ladies, for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, John. Great to see everyone up there at the hospital. We'll be back after this. Welcome back. We're in the spotlight right now with Ms. Ione Mathias. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Okay. Ione hails from Butler, and she is one of 4 siblings?
Right.
4 siblings. Are you the oldest or the youngest?
I'm the oldest.
You are the oldest, so you got to boss everybody around.
Absolutely. Still do.
Still do. Okay, that's good. And you happened to, at one point in your life, get married
I did.
to someone we know,
Bob Mathias, right?
Reverend Mathias, and you met him how?
I met him at church. Well, we'll just back that up just a little teeny piece.
Sure.
Can I tell you the reason I'm here at Covenant?
Absolutely.
Well, my husband is a retired Presbyterian pastor, and you know that generally when pastors retire, they don't stay in their church that they've been serving.
Right.
He was serving the Concord and North Washington churches. Concord Church was my home church, which is where I met him. Mm-hmm. But we needed to find, a new church home, and he left that to me to choose. So for a couple of years after he retired, he's been retired 11 years. After he retired, we visited here, there, everywhere. And during Advent of the second year, I said to him, I have to light somewhere for Advent. I have to be someplace for Advent. And we happened to be coming here that first Sunday of Advent, and we haven't left. That's how we're here.
What would you tell someone that was thinking of coming to Covenant, why they should?
Oh, it's always very welcoming. We have lots of nice snacks.
Yeah,
of course,
we do.
We have a great sanctuary with wonderful acoustics, and it's fun to sing in here. I like to sing. It's really fun to sing in this building. And it's a great community.
It is neat. Where did your interest in music start?
My mom's family are all musical. My mom taught piano lessons and tried to teach me and my sister. That didn't always work out so well. And so she got us a piano teacher of our own but she started us, my sister, she started us playing piano. Big old upright piano, rather like the one we have down here in the fellowship in the assembly room. That was my dad's family's. Moved to my mom's. It's not my house. That's what I learned to play on.
Right.
So it started with piano. Somewhere along the way, discovered I could sing.
So You have two things. You just need to dance now, right?
That's not so good.
Now, singing and playing piano, that's a great feat, and we certainly appreciate when we get to hear that here within our worship. Now, you mentioned your mother. She's a viewer of ours.
She is?
So let's say hi, Arlene. Thanks for watching, okay? All right. So the church and music is not the only thing you've done in life. You've spent about 32 years, I believe, in the Butler County judicial system.
Right.
And what have you done with them?
Most of my time was spent as a judicial administrative assistant to Judge Marilyn Horan. When she left Butler County for the federal bench in Pittsburgh, I chose not to go with her. I just didn't want to travel that much.
Right.
And so my last couple of years were spent doing various jobs, still within the judicial system, but in other roles. I retired 3 weeks ago. So, yeah.
Congratulations.
Well, I'm just beginning on this, okay, what do I do in retirement segment of life.
Okay. What's something interesting that memorable that's happened during your career there?
At the courthouse?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. I was interviewed by the FBI and the CIA at one point.
Oh, wow.
Because someone had come to my office space and made threats against a judge, not the judge I was working with,
right.
and I duly reported that. That was many years ago, but that was pretty
That's
memorable.
interesting,
That was
yes.
memorable, yeah.
Like being one of those TV shows with
Yeah.
the CIA and that. Okay.
So I'm in their file somewhere.
That's cool. So now that you have some time to do other things, traveling, do you plan on doing any of that?
I'm hoping to go to Haiti in August, considering I should say, with a group from northern Butler County called Hearts for Haiti, led by Pastor Jim Lewis from the Shakora Methodist Parish, whatever it is that encompasses. I know there are 2 or 3 churches. I've traveled with Jim other times in Central America and Nicaragua, but this will be the first time I've gone to Haiti.
Okay.
This is a mission that that group has been supporting for a number of years. They do, they're building a clinic, a medical clinic,
Right.
piece by piece, and then they do vacation Bible school for 400 kids.
Wow.
I can't even imagine what that is like. They say it's crazy.
Yeah.
400 kids.
That's a little overwhelming. Oh, that's great. Now, what do people get out of that when they go there or these other missions? What do you think the takeaway is?
Oh my goodness. Certainly an appreciation for what we have. No matter what we have here, it is far more than most of those folks, and certainly more than the folks you minister to. You bring back from that experience lots of love. They may not have as many material things as we have, but they have lots of love to give.
Sure.
And occasionally you bring back a little illness, occasionally. But, there are...
It's worth it.
Yeah, right. There are immunizations you need to take and
Right.
malaria pills you need to take and that sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
And certainly, you just get to see that the world is bigger than Butler County. Sometimes when this is the only place you are, you think it's the only place there is.
Yeah, that's true. There's a world outside of our doors. Okay, excellent. Speaking of the world, all this year we've been asking all of our guests, because it's been an appropriate type of year to ask this. If you could give the world one piece of advice, what would you say?
Give each other a lot of grace. You don't know what anyone is dealing with in their life.
Right.
Just give each other grace.
I think that's well said. Very well said. Okay. Now here's our interesting question we end with. Ione, give me 3 words that best describe you.
I would say amicable, flexible, and I sure hope kind.
I would go with those, yes.
Thank you.
Yes. Knowing you outside of here, yes. All right. Well, Ione, normally that's where we stop.
Okay.
But Ione is on the property committee of Covenant Church. And what do you folks do there?
All manner of things: toilets, windows, yard work.
Improvement projects.
Try to maintain this monstrous facility, this monstrous aging facility.
Yes.
So we generally have a project of the week. Sometimes we call it the disaster of the week.
Disaster. We've had a few.
That's right.
We've had a few. Well, I tell you what, coming up, we're going to check in with a couple members of the property committee and see what they are up to. We'll be back after this. As we just heard Ione speak, she's part of the property committee. Let's take a look and see what they're up to today. Our property committee hard at work taking care of that Dairy Queen. Somebody's got to do it. But seriously, folks, let's check in with their projects.
As a member of the property committee, we try to keep the building in as best possible shape as we can. One of our big projects that we had undertaken this particular year was the replacement of a wall that had deteriorated terribly over the years due to exterior rains coming down the outside of the building. So after repointing the exterior brick, we were involved in having a new wall put in, where we put brand new windows in to bring the building up to the 21st century, considering what was in here was relatively old and worn. Right now, we're currently finishing up part of the wall project, which was installing blinds. We've got 2 up. The third one will be done today. In order to darken the room so that we may take advantage of using visual equipment for movies, for presentations, etc., since this room does also double as a room where our session does hold meetings, and other groups that use the building hold meetings and oftentimes have a need for audio or visual presentations.
And action.
We had a little contest here to name the wall, name the new wall, and the choice was the welcome wall. So soon we will put this lovely decal on the wall here, since we have a straight edge, which we need, and it says, everyone is welcome here, because
everyone is welcome here.
we feel very strongly about that here at Covenant Church. Everyone is welcome.
When Ione came home from a property committee one night and told me that the session was very much interested in upgrading the multimedia system here at Covenant, the folks decided that what we really needed to do was to set aside a separate place in the back of the church where we could control all of the various facets of what was going to happen. There were going to be new monitoring screens up front, new speakers up front, new lighting. And so we looked at the situation and realized that we had a space back in the corner that we could use for that, get the platform up off the ground, as you can see over here, make it possible for our operators to be able to see over the heads of the crowd, get different camera angles that they need, be able to control the various speaker systems and so forth with new and upgraded technological equipment. Brian has been very proficient in providing all of the various pieces of equipment that we need. Several of us then began to look around to see how we might be able to build a platform and to provide a place where the control center could be located. With the cost of plywood being about $40 to $50 a sheet right now, we were able to find some pieces that were still available to us here in the church building itself. We managed to raise the platform 16 inches off the ground and give him the space that he needed so that he could put all of the equipment up. We hope in the very near future to be able to get the rest of the platform built so that he will have a space to put the equipment, the various soundboards and so forth, and we hope to do that in the next couple of weeks with some kitchen materials that we've been able to secure and give it a place to rest comfortably so that all of the operators will be able to perform their duties. One of the things that all of this new technical equipment required was some additional electrical outlets here in the church, and so the property committee was very, very busy searching for electricians who were willing to come in and work in a situation like we had here. They were very, very creative in providing us with the number of electrical outlets that we needed here, hiding everything with conduit along the walls, and then running the wiring along the side of the church up to the cameras and up to the microphones and up to the speakers at the front of the sanctuary. We think with this new system in place that we will be able to better serve the needs of the congregation for many years to come.
A busy group of people. Thank you, one and all, and thanks to Chairperson Leanne Heaton, who wasn't available for this interview, but she did get all these great people together. We're back in another minute. It's time for another field trip. This time I go out to the country home of Dr. John and Mary Reefer. And Mary's going to show us a little bit about gardening. Folks, I'm out here at the country home of Dr. John and Mary Reefer, and I'm with Mary Reefer today. Welcome to the show.
Hi, glad to be here.
Mary is a Penn State Master Gardener and president of the Butler Garden Club. Mary, how did you get involved in these things?
After my children were raised, and practically I was the one that raised them because John, of course, was a 16-hour-a-day physician, I decided I wanted to do something with my life. And John said, well, you have to decide what you want to do when you grow up. Well, I grew up when when the kids left the nest, and I decided gardening is in my genetic makeup. My family, my mother's family, are all still farmers in Ohio. She always had wonderful flower gardens and vegetables and unique things. And a lot of the flowers I have here on the farm are taken from her stock, and I decided that would be a good thing to do. And then I joined the garden club at the request of some friends, and that's also, it's not as intense as being a master gardener.
Right. Yeah. Now, if someone says, boy, that sounds interesting to me, I need something to fulfill my days, how does one go about being a Penn State Master Gardener?
You have to take a course. It usually starts in October, once a week through March, and you have a huge manual. You don't have to memorize it. You take a test at the beginning to see what your basic knowledge is, and at the end you take the same test so you can cheat and look up all the answers. But anyway, then after you become a master gardener, in order to maintain your certification, you're required to have 10 hours of continuing education and 20 hours of volunteer service.
Okay. All right, very good. So look that up, folks. All right. Now, Mary, you are going to give us some tips today on, it looks like, tomatoes.
That's right. It's Tomato 101.
Tomato 101. Well, let's go with that. And I tell you what, let me get behind the camera and we'll let you show us the way.
Okay, Brian, I have a question for you. Is a tomato a vegetable or a fruit?
A fruit.
Wow, you must have learned your lesson in school. Yes, a tomato is a fruit in the botanical sense. In the culinary sense, it's used as a vegetable. And so a fruit is anything that's an ovary of a plant, which is a fleshy piece of material that encloses the seeds. Now think about this: green beans and eggplant, squash, let's see what else. Broccoli. No, not broccoli, sorry. Those are all fruits. You don't think of a green bean as being a fruit, but it is. And a vegetable is something that is an edible part of a plant. So, broccoli is the flower of the plant. Carrots are the root. Potatoes are the tubers. And lettuce are the leaves. So that is the difference between a fruit and a vegetable. Now, there are various kinds of tomatoes that you can buy. I plant 3 different kinds of types of tomatoes. I do a large tomato that's used for eating and canning. I do a paste tomato that's used for making sauce, and I also do cherry and grape tomatoes, which the kids love to come and pick and eat right off the vine. An interesting fact is that the smaller the tomato, the more prolific the plant is in producing them. So actually all you need is 1 cherry tomato plant and you will be supplied for the summer. There are 2 different types of tomatoes, determinate and indeterminate. And what most of us grow is an indeterminate tomato. They will grow until they're killed by the frost. And they can get very tall, 6 to 7 feet. And they will continue to produce the fruit. A determinate tomato is a more compact variety which people can use in containers, but it only grows to a certain height and it produces a limited amount of fruit, and then it's done. It does not grow or produce any fruit after that. My tomatoes that I plant sugary grape tomatoes, and I plant Big Boy for eating, and I plant San Marzano. John and I make sauce out of every year. We make many, many quarts of sauce. Now, planting a tomato. I'll show you this one. This is actually one I got from our Master Gardener program. It looks pretty sick, but I wanted to show it to you before I planted. Tomatoes have the ability to produce fruits along the stem. And so when you plant a tomato, you want to plant it very deep. You could plant it all the way up to the first leaf. And tomatoes also need a loamy, rich soil, so it's often best to amend your soil if you have any compost or anything like that. They like to be warm, and they like the soil to be warm. So don't plant your tomato unless the soil is 60 degrees or above and all danger of frost is past. In this growing zone, that means from May 15th through the beginning of June. And I use, instead of buying a fancy gardening thermometer, I just use my meat thermometer and stick it in the ground and take the reading. The soil here is 68 degrees, so it's plenty warm to plant the tomatoes, which are going to be planted down below. It's best to plant on an overcast day, so today wouldn't be a very good day to plant. You need to harden off your tomatoes for about a week, which means after you purchase them in this way, you bring them out a couple hours each day so that they can get used to the sun. Otherwise, the sun will burn them and they'll have sun scald. It's important to stake tomatoes. And the best kind of stake is a hardy 1-inch wide stake. They should be taller than this, but these are the only ones I could find. And you put the stake in when you plant it, and as they grow, I use pantyhose to tie them up to the stake because they're flexible and soft and they won't damage the stem. Space them 2 feet apart, and when you plant them, it's best to mulch the soil around them with, you can use newspaper, straw, pine bark, anything like that. It will help keep the soil moist, it will help keep the soil warm, and it will keep the weeds down. Now, one thing about tomatoes is they're very prone to fungal diseases, and I have had terrible luck with the fungal diseases. So what we do when we plant a tomato is all geared towards eliminating the chance of the fungus taking charge. Fungus grows in moist conditions. And so what you want to do, one of the reasons you plant them 2 or more feet apart and stake them, is that if it rains, and they will dry out more quickly because you'll have the air circulating around them. Another thing you can do, never do overhead watering. I know rain is overhead watering, but if you're watering, if the soil is too dry, if you've had no rain in about an inch in a week is what they need, then you have to water. But you water at the base because the spores of the fungus overwinter in the soil and the debris. And once they get splashed up onto the lower leaves of the tomato plant, that's when they take hold, and they'll spread up the plant from the bottom up. Let's see. You need to monitor your tomatoes regularly. If you see any signs, it always starts at the bottom. If you see any signs of brown spots, yellowing, please prune those off, dispose of them in a garbage bag, and take it away from your garden. At the end of the season, you need to remove any tomatoes, dead tomatoes, seeds, foliage that's left in the garden, because that will harbor the tomatoes' fungal spores. Another thing you need to do is, and this you have to do as a preventative measure, is to spray a fungicide. If you're having a lot of problems, spray a fungicide. It's preventative, so you have to spray it before you see signs of disease. And that's what I have to do because I've had such a huge problem with my tomatoes dying. Another thing you can do is prune your tomato. As it grows, it will get a little sprout here. It's called a sucker at each leaf node. You don't want a lot of suckers growing, which means a lot of foliage, because it will make the plant too dense and the air can't circulate through it. So pruning is an important thing. At the end of the season, then, to remove all the refuse. Don't compost it. Most composters don't get hot enough to kill the fungal diseases. And let's see, weed. The weeds can harbor the spores. And rotate. Down there is my garden that I've had for 30 years. And last year, John said, well, let's rotate and get you a new garden. So he tilled up a garden down there just for tomatoes so that they would perhaps do better without, with new soil, without the fungal spores present. Let's see. What else? Oh, if you fertilize, they're heavy feeders. Use a low nitrogen fertilizer. Nitrogen promotes green growth, and phosphorus, which is the second number or letter, promotes root development. So you don't want a tomato plant that has a lot of greenery and no blossoms. Let's see, and then I'm going to tell you about picking tomatoes. At one point of a tomato's life, it stops receiving nutrients from the mother plant. And that's when it is pink, green turning into pink. And that actually is the best time to pick a tomato, because it will not ripen. I mean, it will continue to ripen even if it's separated from the plant. You pick it when it's pink, put it in a cool, dry, shady place, and it will continue to ripen. Do not put it in the refrigerator. The refrigerator affects its taste and the nutrients that it has. So if you really want a nice, cold, chilled tomato, put your tomato in the refrigerator for 2 hours to cool it off, and then let's see. I should say, and this is the master gardener in me coming out, you should do a soil test on your garden soil every 3 years. Penn State has those available. As soon as they open up soon, at the extension office, you can walk in and get them. Right now, if you really want to, I can give you a website. You can go directly to the Penn State lab, or outside the office at Sunnyview, which is where the Penn State extension office is. They have a tub that has bags and information that you can go and pick up. I think that's all I have to say.
Thanks for the tips, Mary. Great to be with you today. And that about does it for this edition of the Covenant Chronicle. Until next time, remember, every day is a blessed day. From the Covenant campus in downtown Butler, I'm Brian Graff. We'll see you next time.